Welcome to this intervention on improper fractions, following on from our previous session on mixed numbers. Now, an improper fraction is exactly the same as a mixed number. It's when we're talking about an amount which is made up of a whole and a part. But with mixed numbers, it looked a little bit like this. We had a whole and a part. That was a mixed number. Now, an improper fraction represents the same thing, but it looks like this. So this is the first time that we've seen the numerator is larger than the denominator, okay? So in this fraction, 15 quarters, it would mean eating 15 quarters, which would be more than one whole. So if I were to draw 15 quarters, I would first of all draw one whole one, which, because my denominator is 4, and remember the denominator is the number of equal parts in a whole one, I have 4 quarters, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I need to draw another whole one. Okay, same thing, splitting it into 4 equal parts because our denominator is still 4. Now we've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 quarters. And I'm going to keep going to another whole one, so I still haven't got to 15. Now I've got 9, 10, 11, 12 quarters. So I've got 4 quarters, then 8 quarters, then 12 quarters. And so I need to keep going. So here's my whole, split into 4 equal parts still. This time, if I take all of these parts, I'm going to have 16 quarters. So I don't want them all. I want all of these. 4, 8, 12, but then I just want 13, 14, 15. Okay, so you can see that 15 quarters is the same as 3 whole ones and 3 quarters. So today we're just going to focus on an improper fraction. All right, so let's have a look at some together. I'm just going to remind you again, I'm going to put this little sentence up again, just to remind you, that's what we've got to keep telling ourselves. The denominator is the number of equal parts in a whole, okay? It's really important that we remember that. Okay, so let's have a look at these representations and think about what they might represent. So what is the improper fraction? Okay, so let's have a look at the orange one first. Each of these shapes is split into 4 equal parts. So our denominator, which is the number of equal parts in one whole, must be 4. Because even though there's more than 4 altogether, we're thinking about how many equal parts are in one whole. And there are 4. But how many have we shaded in? Well, this is a whole one, so that's 4, 8, 12, 13. So we had 12 quarters up to there, and then we had one more. Let's have a look at the blue one. So first of all, always start with the denominator. Take a whole one. How many equal parts? 3. So our denominator is going to be 3. But we've got more than a whole one. We've got one whole here, which is 3/3. Then we've got 3 more, so that's 6/3. 9/3, 12/3, 15/3, 18/3, 19, 20/3. Okay? Which you know from last lesson, where you could have said this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 whole ones and 2/3. But today we're writing it like this. And the pink one. Our denominator, our number of equal parts in one whole, is 5. Okay, and I've got 5, 10, 15, 16, 17 fifths. Now you may have spotted that when I was doing this one, I ended up counting in 4s because I had 4, 8, 12. Because our denominator was 4, we could use our multiples of 4 to work out our wholes. For this one, we did the same with 3s. We said that was 3/3, 6/3, 9/3, 12/3, 15/3, 18/3, and that's when we had to add on our 2 extra. And here I counted in fives. 5, 10, 15, 16, 17 fifths. Okay, I'm going to show you 3 representations. You may have seen these before, and I would like you to tell me which improper fraction do they represent. So start by thinking about what the denominator is, how many equal parts are in one whole, and then how many of those parts are shaded in. So pause your screen, have a go at these 3, and then restart your video to see if you were right. Okay, let's go through the answers. So top one, the denominator was 6 because there are 6 equal parts in one whole. And then how many of them shaded in? 6, 12, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 sixths was your answer there. Let's have a look at the blue one. Well, there are 4 equal parts in one whole, so our denominator must be 4. And I've got 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, and one more, 21 quarters. Last one, this time there are 6 equal parts in one whole, so our denominator is 6. And I've got 6, 12, 18, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28 sixths. Hopefully you got those right. Okay, now we're going to move on to you drawing representations or making representations of improper fractions. Right, so now we're going to look at how you might represent an improper fraction. And we're going to use 2 different ways. We're going to build some of the improper fractions with multi-link, and we're going to have a go at drawing some on squared paper too. So we'll start with building. So we've got 14 sixths. So let's look at the denominator first. The denominator shows us there are 6 equal parts in one whole. So here we go, there's one whole. I've got 6 cubes there. I haven't got 14 yet, so I'm going to need to keep going. So let me get another whole now, which is another group of 6. There we go. So I've now got 6, 12 sixths, or 2 wholes. I only need 2 more, so I'm not going to have another whole one. So I just need those 2 on their own. So you might show 14 sixths like that. If you were going to draw it, you would do this. Now I'm not going to use a ruler now because I'm going to do it quite quickly. You might find it easier if you don't use a ruler for yours on the squared paper. So I'm going to draw a shape, and this shape has got 6 equal parts. I know it's 6 because my denominator is 6. Okay, that's one whole one, or 6 sixths. So far I've got 6 sixths. I need 14. So I'm going to draw another hole like this. And again, it's split into 6 equal parts, so I'm using the squares on the paper to help me. I've now got 6, 12 sixths. Still haven't quite got enough. So I'm going to do 2 more, but that looks exactly like this. We could draw it by shading. If I'm going to shade in the pieces, I actually need to make sure that this shape has got 6 parts as well, but I'm only going to shade in 2 of them. So it could look like this. Okay, let's do another one and then you can do some yourself. Let's have a look at the pink one. 8 thirds. Right, where do I need to go first? I need to look at the denominator. So the denominator tells me that there are 3 equal parts in one whole. So this would be one whole, or 1, 2, 3 thirds. I need 8, so I'm going to keep going. I've now got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 thirds, 2 wholes, but I need to keep going. I need 2 more. So that it could be how you represent 8 thirds. If you were going to draw it, you would have 3 equal parts in the shapes. That's 3. I need more, so that's 6. And I'm going to keep going, making 3s. I've got 9 now, so that's too many, so I need to stop. And I'm going to shade in 3, 6, 7, 8. So we've got two representations there of 8/3. Now this time I'm going to do 7/4, but I want you to see if you can build it before I do. So you don't need to pause the video, but can you see if you can make me 7/4 quicker than I can? So of course I'm looking at my denominator first, so I'm working out how many in a whole. And I've got 4 in a whole, so that's a whole one, or 4/4, 5, 6. And there we go. Did you beat me? 7/4 could look like that. And if I was going to draw 7/4, it might look like this. Here are my quarters. There's 4/4 in a whole one. So I need to draw another whole one. That will give me 8/4. That's just a little bit too many. I'm just going to show that I only want 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, I'm going to put a fraction up on the screen for you. I'd like you to pause the video. I'd like you to build and draw the improper fraction and then restart the video to see if you were right before moving on to the next one. Your first challenge is 11/3. Pause the video, build or draw, and then come back to see if you were right. Okay, so 11/3 might look like this, or it could look like this. Okay, next one then. Your next challenge is, can you make me a representation of 12/5, please? Pause the video, have a go, and then restart to see if you were right. Okay, so 12/5 could look like this if you built it from Multilink, or if you drawed it, it might look a little bit like this. And your last challenge is 9/2. So pause your video and build and draw 9/2 for me, and then restart to see if you were right. So 9/2 would look like this. If you were going to draw it, it might look like that. Okay, there we go. That is a quick recap on improper fractions. Next time we'll look about how we can change from improper fractions to mixed numbers and vice versa.